Recording. All right. Good morning, everybody. I am Teresa McDonald. This is the Derita Matters meeting for April 2024. And I will just go around and introduce the people on the call, or you'll introduce yourselves, and feel free to add a little about what you've been up to, or your focus, or the area that you're calling from, etc. So I'm Teresa McDonald. I am a realtor in the Charlotte area with Alan Tate. I live in Allen Hills, on the Derita Statesville Road Community Organization Board, and also on the Charlotte Planning Committee at the moment. So that's me, and I wanted to recognize we have our County Commissioner, George Dunlap, on the call, so we'll just go to you first to introduce and let us know what we should be paying attention to, George.
Well, thank you, Teresa. Good morning to everyone. My name is George Dunlap, and I am the District 3 representative on the Board of County Commission. I also have the privilege of serving as the chair of the board. For those of you who don't know me, I lived in Derita for 32 years, and a few years ago moved out to the Mallet Creek area, still staying close to Derita, which is where my heart is. I occasionally get the opportunity to kind of tune into the meeting. So today was one of those days where I'll be on for a little while. I'll be leaving, doing the meeting. This is budget season for the County Commission. This is the time that we listen to all of the requests that comes from various neighborhoods, nonprofit organizations, and other interest groups about what they'd like to see in the budget. If you would like to participate in that process, there is a budget survey. You can typically find it online. You can find it at your recreation facilities and other county facilities. It is a way of having input into how we develop and craft our budget. Other than that, well, that's the primary focus right now. I think, Teresa, I'm sure you've advised the group about the land that we purchased off of Graham Street for a park, futuristic park. No?
You're on mute.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yes, we are aware of that. And I have a slide here. Maybe I can jump to it quickly while we're just talking about this. Where actually, you know what? I don't know if I have a slide, but there's a couple of huge parcels in our area. There's the Graham Street one, which is, smaller. Maybe it's less than 5 acres, I think. Sorry, I'm jumping through these slides, and I don't think I have that one available right now. But there's Graham Street. There's a parcel on Sugar Creek, West Sugar Creek, kind of by Potter's Road, that we're also keeping an eye on. It was purchased by the county. And then there's a huge park, IBM Road, 60 acres or so, that was purchased by the county as well for future parks. So yeah.
Okay,
if you can keep us posted on that, or if you have news.
Yeah, and then the last thing is, close to Derita, not necessarily in Derita, you know that the property that was going to be occupied by the insurance company.
Oh, Centene, yes.
Centene just really recently sold as well.
Yes, I have that as well. That's very good news, because that's a huge building and a huge 91-acre parcel. So yeah, very, very good news that has been purchased.
I think the important part is that in close proximity to Derita. If Mecklenburg County is supporting these companies, we've determined that they are good corporate partners. So when you have ask, you need to kind of lean on them a little bit.
Okay, yes. Well, that's good to know too. So thank you. One
Teresa,
thing that we have in our area, it is part of the University City Municipal Services District, but it's really what, it's within our area in Derita. The Albemarle Corporation was planning a big expansion on a site that was Selectron. So anything, they have cut back on their plans for that site. So, that's another potential gap to fill. I'm sure the county business and economic development is aware of all of that, but just, that was going to be a big investment in very close to us. I mean, it's right off Mallard Creek Road, and where Morris Estates is, right off Mallard Creek, that property there, and they have an entrance off IBM Drive as well. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I know that we can always trust you to bring our concerns or to have them top of mind. So, and I do have a slide about the budget process. The city and the county have that stuff ongoing. So I do have some links in my slides for the various touch points. And I don't know if any of the surveys and things are still online, but I do have that.
Okay, Teresa, I know this is introduction time, but
Yes.
while I'm here, if there are questions that need to be answered, I'll do my best to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll run through the rest of the introductions, and if anybody has anything specific for Mr. Dunlap, feel free to bring it up. And I am trying to finish this meeting by 9:45, so we'll just bear that in mind too. That's a note to myself more so than anybody else. All right, next on, let's see, Joseph Margolis.
Hi, I'm Joseph Margolis. I live in Michael's Landing off of what used to be Rumpel Road, now University City Boulevard. I'm just a concerned citizen and have been I am a current applicant to be the next person to represent Derita in the UDO Advisory Committee.
Awesome, thank you, Joseph. Thomas Templeton.
good morning. This is Thomas Templeton. I'm a now just past a 60-year residency here in the Royal Oaks neighborhood. For those who don't know, that's within the bounds of the Sugar Creek and Graham Street roads right there, behind the fire station 22. And Mr. Dunlap brings up a very good point of interest for our neighborhood there, because that Graham Street property that the county's purchased now for that park they're talking about is within our neighborhood boundaries there. So we're very interested in the future of that and the plans for that. But along with that, there's a couple of questions I have about that acquisition. One is we heard rumors that there was a remaining piece of land there that was right on Graham Street that they had not acquired yet, but were in the process of doing so finally from the owners there. We hope that's true, first of all. And the second thing is that, as you may well aware, besides that property they've already acquired, the company, the corporation, or the family that controls the land that's right behind the Food Lion there on Graham Street, a lot of that land has just been unused for decades. And I'm wondering if the county has tried or has sought to maybe increase the amount of land acquisition they have for that by reaching out to those people to see if they're willing to sell or let go of some of that land that they've not used in all this time.
So the answer to your question is yes, yes, yes. So the county, when they purchase land for a park, they look to expand the park by purchasing parcels that are contiguous to the land that they purchased, and they are still in the neighborhood trying to negotiate so that they can make that park bigger for the community.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And then second of all, is I think Teresa and I have talked about on this call before, is that I don't know that we've heard any plans for what to do with what the county has for a park. You know, what facilities it would have, amenities, that kind of thing. And maybe that's awaiting the final, acquisition of land and that sort of thing to make a decision on that. But we'd obviously be very much interested in knowing more about that.
So, and I'm sorry, Teresa, was taking this time, but the answer to the question is that Mecklenburg County is in a constant mode to buy land because, of course, the land in Mecklenburg County is going away. We need to get it while we can. But while we purchase land, I think it gives a false sense of hope for neighborhoods because we purchase $50 million worth of land a year, all for parks. And so we purchased land now 7 or 8 years ago for parks, and there are still no plans on the book. I can assure you that when they decide they're ready to plan for a park, they'll have neighborhood meetings, and the neighborhood will have a say about what amenities they want in the park.
Well, and I don't want to belabor the point anymore. Like you're saying, we're taking a lot of the time here, but obviously, for us, we'd love to have that process speeded up as much as possible because we're in great need of any kind of thing that's walkable park for my neighborhood and lots of others throughout Derita. So,
got it.
Thank you. All right, Mel Renner.
Yes, a long time, 25-year resident of the area. I serve on the Derita Statesville Business Community Organization, longtime HOA president for the Forest Pond community, and a retired procurement officer for the city of Charlotte. So I stay active generally in all the community matters. Very impressed of late having attended the Sustain Charlotte event hosted by the Mecklenburg Park and Rec Department. They did an outstanding job of explaining all their projects, and George touched on some of what was discussed at that meeting. Highly attended, interesting venue, the Town Brewery, never been there, talked with the owner, even sampled some of the beer.
Thanks for that, Mel. Let me see who else. John Hoig. You might be muted.
Yeah, he's muted.
No. All right, let's go to Jeffrey Simpson. We haven't seen you in a while. You've been traveling.
Just a little bit in order to recuperate from some of this craziness I'm doing. Anyway, hi, good morning, everyone.
Like
My name is
Cessna.
Jeffrey Simpson.
But their wings, I want to say, were different the last time we went.
Uh-oh, hang on a second.
We went
Jamila?
twice.
I think she's muted. All right. Jeffrey,
Mhm.
carry
Yeah,
on.
yeah, no problem. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Simpson. Handling a lot of craziness there, Teresa, since my trip. But anyway, I am the president of the HOA here at the Farmington HOA. Was recently reelected to Teresa. Was recently reelected to the neighborhood matching grant committee. I also serve on what's called the Citizen Review Board. A lot of different hats. One of the crazy things I'm handling right now, Mr. Dunlap might know about, even Mel might know about this, is handling squatters. I never heard of squatters' rights in North Carolina. It's insane. But anyway, all right. So Jeffrey Simpson, HOA president. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. All right, let me see who else do we have on the call. I did see, oh, Sarah Morton.
Hi, good morning. Sorry if you hear some background noise. I'm Sarah Morton. I live in downtown Derita.
Awesome, thank you. And then Jamila Freelane, City of Charlotte. We're glad to see you.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I think I gotta get my camera going. Hopefully it's working now. Okay.
There you are.
City of Charlotte Community Engagement Liaison, and just here to learn more about what's going on. I will have to hop off a little early for another meeting, but it's always a pleasure to see what's going on in this community. And thank you for the introduction, Teresa.
All right, awesome. I think that's everybody. Carrie has just, sorry, I hope you can't hear my dogs howling. Carrie Miller, introduce yourself real quick. We're just finishing up introductions. She may not be connected in a way that she can introduce. Carrie Miller, can you introduce yourself real quick? We're just finishing up. And hopefully
Yeah,
my
sure.
dog's
Yeah, sure.
howling.
Good morning. I'm Carrie. I am a community advocate. I live in Avalon at Mallard Creek, and I'm also on the board. And I'm happy to be here. Sorry I'm late.
Awesome, thank you. All right, folks, I'm just going to go through the few updates that I have and just remind you that I am trying to wrap this up by 9:45 because I have training or class at 10. So we do have our County Commissioner George Dunlap on the call, as well as Jamila Freelane, who's from the City Community Engagement. So hopefully we can get some questions answered if you still have anything as we go through. I guess I should have just quickly gone over this map. The area that I cover in these meetings is, downtown Derita is, and I hope you can see my screen. Can somebody just confirm that you can see the Derita, the meeting schedule and the map?
I see it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. All right, so we've got 77 in the west and 85 roughly in the south, and then Harris Boulevard. So inside that area, with a lot of focus on downtown Derita, which is our kind of commercial business core at Sugar Creek and Mallard Creek here. And then, the neighborhoods that surround that, and the neighborhoods that you see on this map are the older neighborhoods. We didn't try to put every single neighborhood on here, although if you have a design idea that could accomplish that, I'll be very happy to entertain it. We're not trying to exclude new neighborhoods, obviously, but these are the older, kind of up to the 50s and 60s neighborhoods that are on here. So that's the area that we're covering, and a lot of the data I get is from the county Quality of Life Explorer website. You can go into deep detail. Each of these little areas is a census tract, and so you can really dig deep into the data on all of this, and they maintain everything from the land area, the number of building permits, demolitions, calls for service for police, for 311, education, truancy. I mean, just about every data point is tracked and displayed here in a good way. So you can always refer to that. When you get the slide, there is actually a link to the site on this slide. I will let Joseph talk a little bit about this, but right now, in June, the city passed their new Unified Development Ordinance. It was the result of a 5-year at least process, with a lot of input from the Ordinance Advisory Committee, which was comprised of people from all neighborhoods, from the development community, from nonprofits, etc. But there's some political pressure to make some changes already to the UDO. So that process is ongoing, and Joseph, if you have anything to add, or I have linked to the YouTube recording of a very good meeting of the UDO Advisory Committee. If you want to watch that, it's a very good discussion of just what we're dealing with a growing city, and the fact that we have very low density, and all the problems that come with that, which is a lot of increased cost to the city for infrastructure, as well as to individuals. So just the cost of everyone needs a car to get around, and then of course traffic, and the fact that it makes it hard to add transit to try to solve some of our transportation problems when we've developed in such a way that is so dependent on cars. Anyway, it's an important thing to watch, and let your city councillors know what you think about this, because they will in the end be voting on any amendments to the UDO. So Joseph, anything?
Yeah, I was wondering, I just want to I want to briefly show the grid so they can sort of see the proposed changes.
Yes, great.
Can I make me just co-host or?
Yes, yeah, I'll do that.
Host, and I'll make you, if you have to just make me the host, I'll make you the host right back after I'm done.
I think if I just make you co-host and then I stop
Yeah.
sharing, then you should be able to share.
Okay. All right, is everybody able to see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So at the last advisory meeting this past Thursday, so there's a couple of text amendments. I'm going to go into the most current one they did on Thursday, and I'll leave information about the other one for the conservation residential districts. All right, so if you look at this map, you'll sort of see where like N1A is the least dense, all the way up to N1E is the most dense. And if you look on this map, you see there's just very little N1E. Most of Derita is N1B. A lot of N1A down in the wedge. But here's what was done prior to the UDO. You'll see like single family homes were allowed in all of these districts, R3 through R8. Duplexes were only allowed on the corners through R3 through R6. No triplexes, or quadruplexes through R6, only allowed in R8. And then in any of these residential districts, you could have no townhouses or small multifamily buildings. So the current UDO, which took effect last June, now allows all the way from 1A through 1F single family detached homes through triplexes. Quadruplexes can be allowed on arterials. And so an arterial, for example, would be in our neighborhood, I would presume George, or what, I forget the lady's name, and Charlotte, if you want to confirm if I'm wrong, I would presume like University City Boulevard is an arterial and Sugar Creek Road is an arterial. Graham Street would be considered an arterial, correct? For our,
I think that's correct, but I wouldn't trust my word on that because I don't do a whole lot with zoning.
yeah, one example that the committee gave, or that the staff gave, was King's Drive. They said King's Drive is an arterial, so I'm just trying to think where the roads that are, the arterials are like main roads. And so we can have quadruplexes there. And then for townhouses, you can have up to 15 units per building, with 2 buildings max. And also 15 units per building, 2 buildings max for small multifamily buildings. And this is in neighborhood 1F. And so this, and so that's the current changes. This is what's proposed. And I emailed Teresa the link to this slideshow so that she can include these in the notes. There's more details on the notes, but this is the slideshow that we're in. So if you look, they are switching triplexes back to corners only in N1D, and quadruplexes can be in corners and arterials, and neighborhood 1E and 1F can would be neighborhood 1E and F would be allowed, and up to 15 units and up to 30 units. I believe there's some affordable housing concessions that have to be made to achieve those. And so there's some of there are some concerns about this lowering density. It just depends on what the city wants. So that's just the brief one. The other one I would suggest looking at that they're considering is this slideshow that I'm going to share about the conservation residential development. What they're trying to do is they want to preserve more green space, and they're allowing developments to have a 50% reduction in lot size in exchange for additional open space. And this is to modify that because that's already in existence, but they're getting site plans that they say don't really speak to the spirit of that, which I agree with that. The concern I have when I've talked to some of the developers and just heard from some of the people in the advisory meeting is just how is this may not be a viable option from a business standpoint for them to do, which is something that always has to be considered since we're in a capitalist society. You know, so that's I know that's really jargony what I said probably, but I'm happy to take any questions and answer them as best I can. I'm pretty new to this committee and I'm picking up on some of the lingo and stuff myself, so I may not be well versed enough to clarify it, but I'll do my best.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Yeah, I'll be very grateful for those slides because I'm also trying to catch up on this discussion. If you don't, you can also watch the meetings and hear the discussion in real time, which was very helpful to me because of the different perspectives on that advisory committee. Because, you know, there's the perspective of the people in the neighborhoods that, like, you know, my neighborhood was built in the 50s and 60s. And, you know, potentially going to see the most change. Now, it won't happen overnight, but, you know, it should happen where it doesn't make sense. We can't justify freezing some of these neighborhoods in place as they were built 30 to 50 years ago when we have a growing city and concerns about you know, the environment and sustainability and affordability and just livability. I mean, you know, you don't have to imagine Charlotte in the future. You can go to cities like Los Angeles or Houston that just spread as far as they could And now the average commute times are, you know, in the 2-hour range. That's not something that I believe we want to see in Charlotte. Anyway, anybody got anything for Joseph on that? It is kind of a lot to pick up on, but we all do have opinions on, you know, our neighborhoods and what we see around with our land use. So
I don't
I
have
would
any hot
encourage
chocolate, but I
more
got
of
some
us.
chai if you want that.
Sorry,
Who's that?
say that again.
I apologize. I wasn't muted.
Oh, I see. Okay, you were not talking to us. Okay. Okay, no worries there.
Yeah.
All right, I think I need to.
I will say, I know I didn't make it interesting. Let me make you back the host, Teresa.
Okay.
I'll just say, I know I'm pretty sure I didn't make it sound very interesting. It's very difficult to zoning and stuff like that. I think it's the most boring but consequential stuff a city does.
Yeah.
Where do I
Yeah, I agree. Land use it's fundamental. It's absolutely fundamental that we make good decisions on how we use land.
And what I've learned about it, there's just more things to consider than like what's going to happen to us. Like, you know, how 25 years ago, like if a new subdivision is built, for example, how are we going to pay for the infrastructure? Will those people still be around to pay for the infrastructure improvements after living there through the usefulness? And it's time to improve roads and improve sewers and pipes, you know, because that's essentially a subsidy for all those new residents that get to move into those new subdivisions. They're not paying into those costs, but the city will have to pay those costs, and somehow they're doing it. And a city can only bond itself so much. I'd love to have. I know he looks like he's dropped off, but next, Mr. Dunlap gave me and some other people in Derita a few years ago a very interesting conversation about revenue neutral and things like that. I just, there's other consequences we have to think about, and we need to think about our wealth as a community. And what I mean by that is our city being able to help pay for the services that we all expect and depend on, like water, sewer, good roads, bus services, things like that. And the more density you have, the more ability it is to cover the cost of the tax burdens for the land, and they can get more tax value out of it. So those are other critical things that I would encourage everyone to think about, besides just the scope of how it's going to affect us now over the next few years while things are getting built and while things are changing. What's it going to be like for our children and our grandchildren?
Thank you, Joseph. Anybody else got anything to add before I move on?
Yeah, just for clarification, Joseph, you gave all those brackets 1A through 1F. What is Derita? What range is Derita in?
I think most of it's 1B. I'm going to also send Teresa a link to the policy map. What you can do with the policy map, everyone, is you can put your address into the policy map, and it will show you which one you are.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, if I can just say, like Allen Hills, for instance, is N1A. We're the least dense in Charlotte with our 3 units per acre. Royal Oaks was actually platted to be much more dense. And the average house in Royal Oaks sits on 3 lots. If you look at the way that it was subdivided originally back in 1950 something. So yeah, Allen Hills is N1A, and then you know, where you see townhomes or apartments, generally that will be N1B. in the Derita area. And that's mostly they are on those roads that Joseph mentioned, on Mallard Creek, on University City Boulevard, and so on. So that's hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, the differences between those districts are really the lot sizes. So it's the number of homes per acre, is another way to look at it.
I was assuming that
Which
was
is
probably
density.
the case. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Teresa, can you include a link to the policy map in the slides?
That you emailed me?
I didn't put the policy map in there. I'll look for that. And
I think I do have a link to the policy map. I'm not sure, but I was trying to open just Polaris earlier, which can help too, but it wasn't working. It froze up on me and I'm not sure why. So we'll dig a lot more into this. And Joseph also had mentioned, and I know a lot of people on this call, especially the younger folk, and not to exclude anybody, but would be interested in getting into a smaller group to really get into land use and zoning and making sure that we bring a perspective for the future to some of these discussions. So something like a Strong Towns organization, a strong towns group, which is another thing we'll have to introduce when we have more time. Thank you, Joseph, and I am delighted to see you on that committee, and they really are some of the best education. If you're going to watch anything, those advisory committee meetings are as little tainted with like political grandstanding, which you might see more so in city council. This is really, trying to come to grips with the real trade-offs that we face as a growing city. And so I would highly recommend trying to watch some of those meetings and attend them, and it's all public. It's very transparent. And if you want to be on the committee, there's a process to apply as well. Thomas?
Teresa, yeah, I was going to say one primary factor, I think, for all these plans and talk and things like that is I don't know how much they're talking about the difficulty, or I see is the difficulty with the North Carolina Department of Transportation controlling so many of the roads in this county and not keeping up with it being an urban environment, so to speak. It's Sugar Creek Road and Graham Street and Mallard Creek, all of these roads, especially in our neighborhood or our area, they control too much of that, or have too much control and say so, and not enough ability to work in an urban environment, it seems like to me. And so when we're talking about upgrading areas and things like that, that seems to be a missing factor, because as you know, this area especially has had problems with the NCDOT. So, once again.
Yeah, and that is that's a big part of our problem in Derita and the city generally. And Sustain Charlotte is one of those organizations that really works on that. Now they're more focused on, much more urban parts of town, because while we think we have problems in Derita, there were parts of like Dilworth that still have state operated roads. So, and they're much more dense and much more urban. And anyway, it's
Yeah.
Well, and I will say I don't think it's just the bureaucracy in the NCDOT that's the problem. It's the political environment in Raleigh, because you've got leaders in Raleigh talking about, just build more roads. And I'm going like, Well, a lot of the leaders in Raleigh, they come from towns you can drive through in 5 minutes. So their opinions are just useless in my
Yeah.
thinking. So,
Yeah, it's
And-
yeah, I mean, Sustain Charlotte is definitely one place to you know, put your energy, because they work on those very issues with the state, with the city.
Yeah, and Thomas, yeah, this committee's so far that will do this work is just basically between planning staff and the advisory committee, and it's just really honing in on tweaking the ordinance right now, or making, well, although the triplex thing's not a tweak, that's a major change, but making changes to the zoning ordinance in Charlotte. So, but I'm interested in what you're talking about too. I remain very frustrated about the setback for the setback that on the proposed development at the Puckett's property.
Right.
That,
yeah, prime example, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm not sure what the where the levers of power are to apply. It seems like they do a good job of hiding those in the NCDOT. But I'd be interested in figuring that out.
You know, it might be worth inviting Eric Zaburl from Sustain Charlotte to come and talk to us about that, because he really gets into the weeds with the policy, the politics, and the financials, because it does come down to money as well. The city, if the city takes control of those roads, they then take, and roads are a liability. They're not an asset. They are a huge suck money drain. So anyway, I'm gonna breeze through the rest of my update. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for allowing some time for this quick presentation, Teresa.
Yeah, no, thank you, because I mean, that work it really is fundamental, and I want to see more of us get involved and you know, kind of know the issues and the trade-offs, and be able to speak to that and help, you know, bring others along. So no real updates on Puckett's. You can watch the recording of last month's meeting to see where they are with their design. Yes, there's some constraints as far as what NCDOT will allow, because those are both NCDOT roads, Mallard Creek and Sugar Creek. But I'm pretty happy with the direction that it's going. But there's nothing new there. Just go and watch the beginning of last month's meeting if you missed it, to see kind of what that's looking like. Something else I just researched after walking an area, and I put these slides backwards, but this area here is off of Sugar Creek. It's an 11, almost 12 acre parcel. They've also acquired this parcel here that has a house on it next to the, I guess this is the BP station. And the house is there. I'm not sure, but I think this is Family Dollar. So this big parcel behind here is actually very active in their development stages. They don't need a rezoning. And so I was able to find their site plan that they're working on, the engineering. And so I have this here. And it's townhomes, I believe 76 townhomes. Who knows when they'll actually be built. But this is the plan, Mel. I thought you guys would be interested to see, and I've got some links here for more information, but that's, you know, potentially 76 more households in downtown Derita, which is, you know, it's what we need to sustain our Main Street businesses and bring more investment. So
I noticed looks like they've got quite a few on the north side there that must sit on the
rail bed.
abandoned railroad bed that we had visions for as
Yes.
for a greenway. That's not particularly
Well, that's, oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because this section here is where it's probably built up so high, because this is all ravine way, you know, the topography here is such that it will never get built on.
and a major sewer easement. I appreciate.
Yeah, there's sewer
posting.
easements in there. Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what's where, but I would assume, yeah, the railroad bed must continue along like this. So not Greenway necessarily, but you know, there's a connection to Sugar Creek here, so it's still, I think still in play. But yeah, all of this is their property. It would be the property of the HOA for this townhome community, all of this land that we were wandering around on, which I did make a slide for that. We went to check it out, basically between Forest Pond and Sugar Creek, the abandoned rail bed, and all those woods. I just put that in there for interest's sake. But yeah, that's a very active site. And then another huge piece of news is the red line discussions, very much back on track.
Yeah.
And so there are a bunch of public information and public input meetings. I've got the links here in the slide, so they're all next week or in the next couple of weeks. The one in Charlotte is on the 20th. And then this virtual one is just a presentation that you can watch on YouTube. So I have the links here. Please try to get out on that. As you can see, they're not including Camp North End.
That's wild.
Which, you know,
That is
to me
wild.
has to be a thing. And then if you listen to the input from the people up in these towns, they want fewer stops so that they can just breeze through our neighborhoods and get uptown, you know. So we've got to be there and making sure that there's no talk of getting rid of Charlotte stops, because we've lived with this for too long, that we have all the negative consequences of having a rail line through our towns and neighborhoods, and none of the benefits.
And Teresa, I will say, you know, I've watched this try to develop for decades now. And
Yes.
when they first had the plan for this rail line going to the towns up north, there were stops along Graham Street corridor. There were like at least 2 or 3. After
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh,
And then they
interesting.
eliminated them years later to everybody's consternation, because then they started saying like, oh, well, it's got to be a locomotive and it's got to go so fast. You know, it was that kind of
Right.
thing.
It's not light rail. It is commuter rail, but still, yeah.
Still, right.
I did not know that. So yeah, all the more reason.
Yeah, if you could ever find anything about the original plan, yes, they had
Yes.
stops along the way in between Derita and downtown.
Yeah, and there should be, and maybe that means that it should be light rail more so, but it is a 25-mile stretch, so it's not going to be perfect, but we really do have to make sure that, you know, they don't start talking about consolidating North Charlotte or something crazy, because that would be the worst outcome. So pay attention, and the details will be on the slides to attend these meetings. And these are just the initial public information and public input. So definitely Camp North End seems like a no-brainer to me. And I don't know about anywhere else along North Graham. You obviously need the potential to add density around any of these stops. So Derita is obvious because we have so many vacant acres within a quarter mile of this area. But North Graham Street, I don't know, it's very industrial. It'll be like South End. It could turn very quickly into high density residential if they put stops along that North Graham corridor. But Camp North End seems to be a no-brainer. The rail line goes right through the middle of Camp North End.
Well, you have all those neighborhoods below Atando,
Yes.
that on between Graham and Tryon that are so
Yes.
dense. They're building all these apartments on the Statesville Road side of or Statesville Avenue side.
Yes.
Camp North End, yeah, makes
Right. It's really within.
doesn't make it's weird.
Yeah. The density around Camp North End is phenomenal. I heard, and I haven't verified, that it's something like 2,500 units of housing going in within a certain radius of Camp North End. So it probably includes some parts of Noda and the area between North Graham and North Tryon, but
The Music Factory, I mean,
yeah, there's a lot there. So we need to be part of those conversations. So put that on your calendars. And these are just very local updates, nothing new, but they've started their actual construction here in Allen Hills, where we will see townhomes in this 7-acre parcel that was just one single family home for decades. So that has started. I just put that in. If people are actually in the heart of Allen Hills, you'll see that dirt that's been cleared and the work starting. There's the site plan. Oh, and then I just made a slide for our, this is again Allen Hills, just on the outskirts, kind of between industrial zone and Allen Hills. These Habitat for Humanity homes. And if you ever driving along Allen Road South, you would have seen them. So they're coming along, and I just thought I would make a slide for that because people hear about the Habitat for Humanity homes, they don't know where they are, or they've seen them and they don't know what they are. So that's there. And then this George Dunlap mentioned this, which is very good news, that Vanguard has purchased this site in the University Research Park area. So it's outside of Derita, but very much key for us. Whatever
Teresa,
economic development happens there. Yes.
I was going to say about this one. I mean, Centene obviously has a lot of buildings and a lot of infrastructure at that location. Is Vanguard taking over all of those buildings or just a portion of them?
I believe they've bought the whole site. They paid $117 million for it.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a 91-acre site. They're going to consolidate all the employees into this location. They have 2,400 employees in different offices around the Charlotte area. I don't think it means that they're moving their operations from Pennsylvania, but yeah, as I understand it, they have purchased the entire site. And it doesn't mean that they wouldn't lease some parts of it to other, if they can't use all the space. It's something like 700,000 square feet of office space. But yeah, very good news.
A comment about that is, I'm sure in anticipation of this ultimately being occupied, there's a huge tract of land that and they eliminated quite a few houses next to the Piedmont UU Church that's being developed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on Mallard Creek Road. Yeah.
It's basically in the backyard of this facility. You have to kind of look at an aerial to understand.
Yes, yeah, and if you go along that greenway, that's the best way to kind of get a bird's eye or something view, not bird's eye, but on the ground view of all of this. So okay, I've got 10 o'clock, so I'm signing into my class here. The last update I have, if you haven't seen it, this part of the sign is up. So we're ready for our red line Derita place marker. Well, of course, at this point, we don't know exactly where the station would be. So, but yeah, the rest of the sign will be installed over the next few weeks. They got this piece up before the rains came last week and then Easter. So the other piece is going to be a horizontal piece. It'll be on the other side so that it's visible, in both directions, and certainly on the train in both directions. So watch out for that, and we'll probably in June have some kind of celebration for our Derita sign. It's if anyone remembers, the original Derita sign was maybe as big as my computer monitor. So this is great. I'm very excited. So go check it out if you're driving by.
I'm still making a proposal for a flagpole on that top platform.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Well, there's going to be opportunities around this site, I think, in the future, which we'll talk about some more if we get our small group going, that can try to work on another project for this site, because the owner is very open to the site being used as a plaza or some kind of gathering space. So we'll be working on that. Very exciting. But all right, I need to finish up here. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Teresa.
But yeah, thank you, and we'll see you next month.
See you next month.
All right. Bye.
Until then.